Good morning. 안녕하세요. I'm so happy to be here to stand before you on behalf of our General Secretary, Bishop Melzar Labuntag. He has to get some medical attention because of his hypertension and recuperation from his heart disease. So I'm presenting to you the UCCP perspective of directions of the Korea Missionary Association that have been here for the last 50 years. Congratulations to all of you who are parts and members and officers of the KMAP. So I'm following my slides. I hope this is about 20 to 25 minutes. Okay. So my outline, there are 4 parts of my presentation. First is the review of the trilateral covenant of partnership between Yejang, and UCCP that was signed in 2002 in Baguio City. Second will be partnership and mission initiatives of UCCP. The Korean partner churches and the Korean mission co-workers who were sent to UCCP. Third, some theological and ecclesial underpinnings of Mission Day, or the mission of God. And the fourth and last will be the future directions and mission work in the Philippines. These are our perspective, which you can share with us in the UCCP and the ecumenical community. In view of the PMAP Golden Jubilee celebration that dates back the association's early beginnings in mid-1970s, I would like to mention the start of the formal mission cooperation of the UCCP with the 2 major denominations from Korea, the PROK and the PCK. It was in the year 2002 General Assembly in Baguio City that the trilateral partnership covenant was signed by the church leaders of the 3 churches. In summary, the content of the partnership covenant are the following. A, common faith heritage of Reformed and Protestant heritage, such as Presbyterian, Disciples of Christ, Congregational, Methodist, and others. Common understanding of partnership, that there are no absolute givers and no absolute recipients in partnership. We all have gifts to offer and needs to fulfill in a relationship. The willingness to listen to the needs of one another and discern from our resources the gifts available to meet these needs. Promote local and regional ecumenism, encouraging understanding of unity and diversity, and active participation in the worldwide church. Partnership is a sharing of faith life experiences that hold one another accountable for our responsibility in ushering in the reign of God. In partnership, we open ourselves to learn, to be transformed, and to minister mutually to one another. In partnership, we uphold the principle of equality, where we will respect each other, that although differences exist, we will not use differences to arrogate power or control over one another. So these are the planned program cooperation within that partnership agreement of 2002. One is common sharing of hold common celebrations through worship and Eucharist, the sharing of liturgical materials, prayers, and meditations. 2, joint consultations and exchanges of resources. Regularly exchange materials and analysis of the situation of respective countries and churches. Convene special conferences and consultations to study new developments affecting our partnership and to explore together matters of theology, policy, program, and mission strategy. 3, exchange of personnel, exchange of ecumenical co-workers to share faith perspectives, challenge and support one another in responding to God's call to mission in the world. Enable internships as an opportunity to share and learn through dialogue and engagement with church communities and organizations in other parts of the world. 4, program development, promote and foster opportunities for ecumenical visits, exposure programs, and study excursions to share perspectives, strategies, projects, and spirituality to strengthen our active participation in God's mission of love, peace, and justice. Channel specific program support to enhance implementation of church trusts and priorities, and subsequently facilitate our efforts for self-reliance and self-determination. develop multi-level partnerships, including congregation to congregation, presbytery to presbytery, presbytery to conference, and lay formation and lay association partnership. 5, mutual concern about main issues of respective countries and churches. Formalize projects and programs that are being jointly undertaken. Develop multicultural ministry, particularly ethnic ministry among Koreans in the Philippines, the Filipinos in Korea, and ministry with migrant workers. I was in Korea for 15 years working with OFWs. 6, ordination. Develop a joint policy and process of ordination of PCK, PROK pastors by the UCCP and vice versa, and of transference of ministers from one partner church to another. We only had initial conversations about mutual recognition of ordination. But what happened is that PROK was able to hold that mutual recognition with the United Church of Canada. So there are already Kijang pastors who are working in Canada. But UCCP and PROK, we have started only the conversation, but we have not signed an agreement. Okay, so these are the things that we have done from 2002. In the early 1990s, Paul Mission sent Reverend An Sang-gun and his spouse Sophia to UCCP Western Visayas Conference of the UCCP. Because I was there, I was a pastor of the church. So the cooperation was with Reverend Pisquera, the conference minister during the time. They were involved in training of young people in the Bible Institute, soliciting financial support from PROK churches to support board and lodging of young people. The support lasted only until late 1990s. Reverend An Sang-gun assisted UCCP Iloilo in the building construction of a seminar house and the money for the purchase of around 400 square meters of lot in San Jose, Antique, where the church was constructed. Simultaneously working with Reverend An Sang-gun was Reverend Kim Hyun-sok, a PROK minister from Seoul Presbytery. Initially came to a mission agency, but later officially recognized as mission co-worker with UCCP, assigned in Western Visayas Conference, and later transferred to Bukidnon Area Conference. She assisted the jurisdiction in their evangelization and mission outreach program in indigenous communities in Bukidnon, facilitated construction of church buildings, relief and rehabilitation program. Mission work for migrant workers, OFW in South Korea, was inaugurated in 2002 when Mr. Pastor Espino Galang Jr. was officially sent to PCK Domestic Mission Department as staff, where he did social casework at the Yongdongpo Workers Center and later transferred to Osan Migrant Workers Center in Gyeonggi-do. He was reinforced in 2004 by a couple UCCP pastor, that's me, Frank, and Gloria de la Cruz, who were sent as mission co-workers to PROK, originally to Gangnam Kyohe and later assigned in the PROK Chonghe, and they work amongst OFWs in Seoul and the neighboring towns and cities. Personal exchange continued between PROK and UCCP and PCK and UCCP from 2007, when Reverend Fred Carmelo was sent to PCK to the Migrants Ministry based in the PCK Jangsok Kyohe, then followed by Reverend Grace Bangisan and later by Reverend Elizabeth Plotado. So there were 3 UCCP pastors that work with Jangsok Kyohe. From 2010 to 2017, Reverend Chong Hedong was sent to PROK by the PROK to UCCP National Office and followed by Reverend Na Jae-song in 2017 to 2019. In the same period, Reverend Pang Tewa was sent by PROK to UCCP West Visayas jurisdiction. For the last 18 years or so, PROK pastors came to the Philippines to work with various organizations, but not necessarily under the auspices of the UCCP. So marami, I'm talking, there are many Korean pastors from the PROK and PCK who are in the Philippines, but not necessarily under the care of UCCP. Disaster Relief and Rehabilitation Program of the UCCP and the NCCP were financially supported by the PCK and the PROK, especially after aftermath of Super Typhoon Yolanda in Leyte Island in 2013. Rebuilding of church buildings damaged by strong earthquake in communities ravaged by flood and other natural calamities. So our Korean partners really assisted us in many ways possible in the relief and rehabilitation programs of our churches. Infrastructure and financial support for Duribang Center, or the UCCPC Nagkababaihan Women's Center for Women and Children in Prostitution in Cubao, Quezon City. Reverend Isok Jean, PROK NCWA, sent her as mission co-workers and worked as resident chaplain of Duribang, Quezon City. Infrastructure project for Youth Training Center in Quezon City in cooperation with Korean Youth English Education Program in Manila and Cebu. We used to have this teenagers who come to UCCP and we teach them English and give them some kind of cultural education about the Philippines. But it has stopped because of so many circumstances. There was an earthquake and they said, oh, it's very dangerous to go to the Philippines because of earthquake. And then the pandemic came, so we have to stop it totally. Educational support for children of UCCP pastors and members who experience violations of human rights. So may mga scholars ang mga bata, no? The children who receive scholarship from the PROK and NCCK. Youth integration program for youth from the PROK Seoul Presbytery to the United Metropolis Conference. There are also young people, college young people, who come to Manila and learn about church life and mission of UCCP in Metro Manila. Support for organizing, counseling, and social work for RFWs and migrant workers from other Asian countries. So I have here some understanding of God's mission based on the global ministries of the UCC USA and the Christian Church Disciples of Christ USA in Canada. Describes the mission of God in this manner. This is their definition. The mission theology expressed in the Latin Missio Dei articulates the belief that mission is God's mission and we are God's instruments in that mission. The starting point of Mission Day is a Trinitarian God. Mission is the purpose and action of the Triune God. The internal relationships of the Trinity also embody the way God acts in the world. The church, as a community of God's followers, become the instrument of God rather than the proprietor, the term proprietor or owner of mission, of that action. Mission then moves from something that churches do for the sake of God to understanding the very nature of God as missionary and sending. It changes missions in the plural as if every church has a mission to mission in the singular, meaning that came up is doing mission, but it's not just one mission, but it's all about mission, and we all participate in that mission. Because God is one, mission is one, in 1964, Stephen Neal, a mission historian from Britain, wrote in his book, A History of Christian Missions. This is the catch sentence. The age of missions ended. The plural missions. The British mission, the German mission, the American missions, and many other missions. Now, the age of missions in the plural has ended. The age of mission began. There's only one mission of God. At the same time, Mission Day causes the church to understand its very purpose as missionary. The church is both an object and a subject of mission. Unity is an embodiment of the mission of God that creates the church and works in the world. At the same time, the practice of mission is integral to a church that receives its purpose from this missionary God. So briefly, these are the things that the CCP is talking about in terms of mission and ministry. So there's no clear distinction between mission and ministry, but in trying to figure out the differences, maybe there's only a thin line that separates the two. So from UCCP Constitution and Bylaws, we can see here the ministry of the church. Section 1, in faithfulness to Jesus' proclamation of his own mission and the Great Commission, the church, as the people of God, is called to a ministry of love and service and the search for peace based on justice and reconciliation in obedience to and as exemplified by Jesus Christ. Having been given a diversity of gifts, all church members are called upon to participate in his ministry, looking forward to the attainment of unity in faith, knowledge of the Son of God, and mature personhood according to the measure of the stature of the fullness of Christ. Section 2, within the church, some are called as ordained ministers, lay church workers, and other charged to perform specific ministries to enable the church to fulfill its mission and service and to build up the body of Christ. Within the church, some are called as ordained ministers. I think it's repeating. Okay. Okay, this is the last. Section 4, the church shall also recognize organizations that play an important role in the life and ministry of the church. The context of God's mission is both immediate, specific, and broad. For the immediate, specific context, we take into consideration the real-life situation of individuals and families and communities where we are sent as bearers of God's mission. Defining the specific context include the following: socio-economic life of individuals and families in a given community, such as income levels, livelihood, and other sources of income, existing in potential human and material resources. Community organization, traditional and non-traditional leadership system, communication network, political control mechanism, and community linkages. Government and NGO support system, regular and project-based funding, social services such as health, education and welfare, and cultural religious development. D, climate, ecological, geological crisis resiliency, and access to resources for support for relief and rehabilitation. Religious and cultural systems, moral and ethical standards, either as unifying or diverging factors in the life of the people. Collective vision of the community for abundant life, where social justice is experienced, social services are accessed, economic life is sustainable, and just peace is both an existential experience and a guide for ideal community and society. The broader context includes the following: the national and international economic systems, such as the impact of social economic system and policies on the quality of life of families and local communities. Geopolitical dynamics affect life of communities. The West Philippine Sea. Territorial claims discriminate and hinder access to fishing grounds of local fisherfolks, and how joint military exercises endanger local communities related to their security and economic sustainability. Identify national and international organizations, churches, mission agencies, ecumenical organizations, climate justice network, and other justice and peace movement that can provide support and assistance in a variety of program initiatives that will ameliorate existing socioeconomic situation, restore persons who experience violations of human dignity, rehabilitate families going through disruptive impact of climate change in the local communities and the nation. So these are some of the suggestions that I have. I have listed 10 suggestions as a common mission project or program that we can have. As bearers of God's mission, coming from churches, mission organizations, council of churches, and whether in the national and international level, can initiate, participate, or collaborate for mission programs that manifest the saving and compassionate love of God in Jesus Christ. Specific and broader mission programs can be characteristically non-traditional, especially if this actualizes the good news in Christ, that of proclaiming the gospel to the poor and marginalized, set free the oppressed, give sight to the blind, liberty to the captives and oppressed, proclaim the Jubilee, the dawning of the new reality that replaces the corrupted or the sinful world. Came up in partnership with the churches and mission organizations, can initiate and participate and collaborate in programs that can change people's lives, strengthen their community lives, such as the following. So we have here on the left, column, the programs, and the context on the right side. So number one, contextual reading of the Bible through Bible study, Sunday school, and reflection groups. This is because Christian faith and religious beliefs reinforce existing power structures in society. So do we read and interpret the Bible that reinforce existing culture, or do we allow them to see themselves in the light of the gospel? Two, church or mission organizations manage schools, provide accessible and affordable education to the poor and marginalized students. I know UCCP has many schools, and one of the role of the schools is to provide affordable education. If possible, offer them free education, but we believe that families also have the responsibility for their kids. Of course, there's public education, but schools as instruments of mission, we also provide them with affordable education, quality education for the children. Number three, integral evangelism through medical health services, outreach and preventive community-based health program in depressed communities. So the situation I figure out is this: despite the advance in scientific medicine, healthcare system is inadequate and expensive. Aggressive ads on health supplements and herbal medicines and even Western medicines prevent people from getting the physician's care. They will not go to the doctor or to the hospital or to a clinic for a medical checkup because they can take, what is being advertised on radio or on social media. Establishing partnership with the organization of subsistence farmers, fisher folks, workers, and other struggling sectors of society. UCCP is trying to go down to the community level, barangay level, according to Reverend Badoy, because that's where the mission is. So we need to, the church should not only wait within its premises for people to come. It should go out. It should go out and reach out to people in need, especially our basic sectors of society. Marginalization of basic sectors of society, poverty and landlessness of many families in society is the subject of God's mission. Number five, organized action groups, quick reaction teams, provide training, equipment, and facilities to disaster response and rehabilitation. The impact of climate change and climate emergency is real. We have the first typhoon in the Philippines, and I guess there's already damages in many provinces around the country. Collaborative work with the GOs and NGOs is very important in helping people face the difficult situation of climate change and climate emergency. Six, set up and organize, operationalize human dignity, rights, and security teams that will provide paralegal assistance to people whose rights and liberty are threatened. Repressive laws and government policies endanger the lives, livelihood, and liberty of people in the communities. Red tagging, illegal arrest, and detention. The anti-terrorism law and anti-terrorism funding laws are affecting our people and people's organizations. Number seven, collaboration with churches in organizing and conducting peace education with children and youth. Peace camp, youth, peace study, exposure program in communities impacted by conflict or war. The Ecumenical Forum on Peace and People Security in Northeast Asia, in which NCCK and PROK are very active, plan to hold peace camp for children and youth next year at Union Theological Seminary. So children will come for the peace camp. This is to inculcate the values of peace and justice, wherein people in Korea, Taiwan, Japan, and the Philippines are living in precarious situation given the threats of war and new forms of colonization from the new empires in the world, so impacting communities. Number eight, collaborate in ecumenical and interreligious dialogue and peace study. There are indigenous spirituality in the Cordilleras and other parts of the Philippines as well as the tri-people interaction among Muslims, Christians, and Lumad in southern Philippines. Greater unity with indigenous communities is possible. They should not be objects of mission, but they should be our partners in mission. Number 9, engage in restorative justice initiatives. There are victims of human dignity, violations of human dignity, life, and liberty in the communities who needs our assistance. Number 10, extend financial, material, and human resource for construction of buildings that will be used for church programs and social services in the poor and marginalized communities. So whether we like it or not, there are already communities who say, can you support us build a church building or a community center where we can have a more permanent venue for our gatherings? The context, there are many poor and marginalized communities that need permanent building for the community programs, especially their social services, health centers, daycare centers, and worship centers. We in the UCCP hopes that we can broaden our cooperation with ecumenical partners like the KMAP on various relevant programs that will truly impact the lives of our poor and marginalized people in the communities where we are present and are doing Christ's mission. God's love and peace may abide with us always. 감사합니다.